here, coming from my music studio in Western Michigan. I'm coming to you today to talk about the song Imagine. So I want to do videos on specific songs and ways to arrange it, and also maybe play it the way the recording says. I'm a little biased because I'm going to show you the way I do it, but like I said, once you have the skills and you learn the song, you can do what you want with it. So Imagine is a famous song. It's got a pretty famous lick or counter melody in it. If you watch my other video about how to arrange, you'll understand this language. I will say these videos are meant for more of the intermediate advanced students that understand chords already and the basics of music. So if you don't know that, go ahead and reference my other videos and just keep practicing and you'll be ready for this. So Imagine, the first thing we want to look at is the form. So that's always the first thing. So I like to, the form of Imagine is this. One, it has an introduction. So the introduction is kind of that famous chord leading to that F chord. So you want, I like to play that with this song just because it's so famous. Lets people know what they hear. Also kind of invokes that feeling that John Lennon has. I like to quote the person that wrote the song sometimes, and then sometimes I like to do my own thing. But in this song, I'm going to play the first verse just like John Lennon did it. So the introduction is just C and F. And if we're in the key of C, so you want to know that. And so I'm going to write the chords. I'm also going to write the diatonic triads. So you're going to go tonic to the 4 chord. And I would write a little lick. I write like little notes to myself in my notepad. Remember, professionals, write it down. Amateurs, remember it. Always have a notepad. Always have a pencil when you practice. Write down your ideas. Write down your notes. So then it goes to a verse 1. I just put V1 for verse 1. So the chord progression for that is the C to F. Ooh, I need another piece of chalk. The C to F. And it's going to do it 4 times. Just that, there's 4 lines to it. Followed by that is what I call the pre-chorus. So that's the imagine all the people, that part right there. It's not quite the chorus, it's kind of the pre-chorus. And what's interesting is that after he does the pre-chorus, he goes to verse 2. So, ooh, excuse me. All right, verse 2, which is the same. So think about form. When you figure out the form, you'll see the pattern. Our brain learns some patterns. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. If verse 2 is the same as verse 1, then you just need to make a note of that. The chord progression is the same. The lyrics are different. We're going to talk about the lyrics in a minute. So now, after verse 2, it goes back to the pre-chorus, and then it does the chorus. All right? So that's the, you may say I'm a dreamer, that section. So far we have an introduction, which is the same as the verse. We have a pre-chorus section. We have a verse, which is the same. And then we have a chorus. That's just 3 sections of the song. And actually, that's the only section, unless you want, like what I like to add at the end is an outro. So an introduction, an intro is what in the beginning of the song, and outro is what the end of the song. So the pattern of this one goes chorus, then it goes verse 3, then it does pre-chorus, I'll just put PC, and then it goes to chorus. And then I do an outro. So that's me marking out the form. So I map it out, and I'm going to listen to it while I look at the chords. So for the pre-chorus, the chord progression, and I'm going to show it to you. Let me show you this part first, okay? So to do the John Lennon's version, you're going to play a C major chord and play the bass to C. Yeah, chalk everywhere. And you're just going to play a triad, a C triad, the top rocking to the bottom. So rhythm. Then I'm going to play a B to C leading to the F chord. And I'm doing the F chord in second inversion. So the C's on the bottom, A and F's on the top. So C tonic and root. Then there's F. And then this lick is A to B flat to C. And it has that rhythm leading to the C. So you could do that for the whole song, and that's how John Lennon does it. I'm going to do a little something different just because I like to make things my way. So that's how you do that. That's that chord progression for that. Then the pre-chorus. You go to F. So I like to think of this part as more of a percussion part. So you're going to treat it more like you're a drummer. And you want to keep this bass line, which goes down and just down. I've listened to it a couple ways, trying different ways. You really need this bass line. So it goes from an F chord in first in root position, then it goes to a C chord in first inversion, then it goes to a D minor chord, and then an F chord in second inversion. So I'm going to write out those chords for you, so you can write them down. I highly recommend you make notes while you watch this video. So the chord progression is F in root, then it goes to C, what's called the C6-4 chord. Please watch my tutorial on triad inversions if this doesn't make sense to you. Then you're going to go, so you're going C6 chord, sorry. Then you go to a D minor chord. Then you're going to a F6-4 chord. So that's the short way of writing the triad inversions. So that is that section. Then we go to the verse 2, which is the same thing. And then we're going to go to the chorus again, which pre-chorus is there. Then we go to the chorus. So the chorus is just F, G, C, E major. So that's that fun sound of the F. You may say I'm a dreamer. And that goes like that. So that's that cool sound that's kind of unique to this. And then it just goes back to the F. But I'm not the only one. Again, so that's twice. Someday you'll join us. Then it goes to F. Now it's different. So when you find the pattern, it's about knowing where it's the same and where it's almost the same but slightly different. So the chorus does that chord progression 3 times. If I can keep track of my chalk, the chord progression 3 times, and then the 4th time, it does a C to G to C, then back to C, yeah. So it goes, sorry, F, G, then to C. So, if someday you'll join us, and F, okay, so you see how that works? So that's how that chord progression works. So it does it 4 times. Last line is slightly different. One thing I do forget to mention with the pre-chorus, there is the section that does the G to C. And I'll show you that when I go to play it. Okay, so now that you have that part, you've got it mapped out the chords. Now it's about arranging it. So what I like to do is I think of this song as like a journey song. So he talks first about heaven and hell. So to memorize lyrics, also find the pattern and tell the story. So he talks first about the big picture, which is heaven and hell. And then the second verse talks about country, religion. The third verse talks about possessions, hunger. So it kind of has a progression. So if you hear that progression, you'll memorize the lyrics better. Also, with this song in particular, it was really difficult to memorize the lyrics in the way that the second line of the verse is similar to each other in each verse, but different. So imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. You want to make sure you get that line correct, because try rhymes with sky. Above us only sky. So then the second verse does the "it isn't hard to do," which rhymes with "no religion too." And then the third verse, "I wonder if you can, brotherhood of man." So find the chord progression patterns, but also find the lyric patterns. A lot of times lyrics rhyme, so you know, oh, this word has to go with that because it rhymes. Also, if you hear the story, if you see images while you're hearing the story, it helps with improvising as well as gets that story out to the audience, and it'll help you memorize the song better. Also, one thing with the pre-chorus, and this is where I want to talk about this section. So we do 3 times we're going to do the pre-chorus. So each time the lyrics are the same besides the last verse or the last line. So we do the "Imagine all the people that G living for today." Then he does a little then back to that. In my version, I'm not doing the yoo-hoos, I'm doing that on the piano. But do you see how it does this, then it goes to G, then bum, bum, quick, okay? Now, here's the thing with that lyric. It changes each time the verse is different. So the pre-chorus is the same lyric besides the last line. The first verse talks about living for today, so that's the first thing you think of. Today so it kind of goes opposite, it goes small to big. Then the second time, he talks about living life in peace, and then the third time, sharing all the world. So I remember it that way. You start with your day, you start with yourself, then you start with the world with being peaceful, and then you start with the world, end with the world. So that's a good way that I help to do it. So hopefully when I play it for you, I'll memorize the lyrics. So now, with arranging it, what I like to do is the introduction for the first verse, I do like the recording, okay? So I just put a little R there, I'm just doing it just like the recording. And I'm gonna keep that pre-chorus like the recording too, because I want that bass line. F, G, all the way. Then when I go to the second verse, I feel like because the lyrics kind of talk about being lost a little bit, no country, no religion. So I like to do a wandering sound. And I don't do the lick, I do my own thing here. And I'm doing kind of I like to play an arpeggiated bass, which is kind of just plays an arpeggio, which again, check out my videos on arpeggiated bass and arpeggios. And I like to do big chords to kind of give an open sound. So that's how my textures in my piano is going with the story of the song. Then the third verse, I like to thin it out and get really intimate. So one way you could do that is by going up an octave. So I start down here, I finish and the world will lose. And then you go up, and then I'm going to quote the recording. So what I like to do is thin it out here, and then I'm going to do something different. Just kind of tinkle. Wonder if you can. Then quote. But I'm also doing something different. So my variety that I'm giving to this song is like the recording, completely different, then a mix. And then I'm going to come down at the end to bring up the texture even more. If you want to thicken up the texture, a good way to do that is just to go down an octave. So thin, thick. You can leave out notes. When you improvise, as long as you're playing the chord, you don't have to play every note in the chord. You don't have to play the root. As long as you have the notes of that chord in there, it sounds good. So that is how to play Imagine my way / John Lennon's way. I'm going to play it for you on my grand piano. Please enjoy. My name is Ann Bell, Piano Sage, and I hope this helps.